Hey, Raiders fans. Today we're diving deep into the latest happenings with the Las Vegas Raiders, and there's a lot to unpack. Right now, the situation in the Raiders organization is more complicated than it looks on the surface. At the heart of the matter, the people in charge of the roster and long-term planning are not exactly on the same page as the coaching staff. There's been tension between those making personnel decisions and those running the day-to-day on the field, and it's showing in how the team is functioning. The recent moves and decisions, especially around the draft and acquisitions, have highlighted that disconnect. It's not just about the trades that happened. It's about the philosophy behind those trades and how the coaching staff reacts to them. Looking at the season so far, it's clear the Raiders might need to reconsider some major roles by the end of the year. There's a strong case to be made that certain personnel decisions, particularly around coaching, need a rethink, while some executives are still performing well and making smart long-term moves. One of the clearest examples of this disconnect has been the situation around Jakobi Meyers. The coaching staff clearly wanted to keep him on the field, believing he could contribute immediately, even during a rough start to the season. Meanwhile, the front office took a different view, seeing Meyers as a player whose time with the team was limited and whose trade value could be leveraged. This difference of opinion highlights the broader issue within the Raiders. The staff and executives aren't aligned on strategy or timing. Trades like this reveal the friction behind the scenes. The coaches are focused on winning each game, while the front office is focused on building for the future, even if it means taking short-term losses. And while leaks in sports are always tricky, it seems clear that someone inside the organization wanted to highlight this disagreement, giving the public a peek into the complex decision-making process. Another significant point of friction has been player health management, specifically with Brock Bowers. After suffering a PCL injury early in the season, Bowers played through pain for multiple games, visibly hampered on the field. Comparatively, other teams have opted to rest players with similar injuries for longer periods, prioritizing long-term health and performance. The Raiders, however, seemed to push him back into action too soon. This decision raised questions about internal communication, coaching priorities, and whether the medical staff or the coaching staff had the final say. Public statements suggested that Bowers himself was unwilling to rest, but insiders close to the team know that the responsibility for his early return lies with the coaching decisions. It's a delicate situation, but it clearly demonstrates the challenges of balancing player welfare with competitive drive and fan expectations. Mismanagement of injuries not only risks players' careers, but can also impact team performance and chemistry. Fans watching week to week might see just a player underperforming, but the reality is far more complex, involving conflicting priorities and difficult choices behind the scenes. On top of that, the rookie development has been another flashpoint. Caleb Rogers, a promising rookie guard, was reportedly planned to start in certain games, but was pulled due to practice struggles. This again points to the tension between development, readiness, and immediate results. The coaching staff faces constant pressure to win games, sometimes at the expense of giving young players the reps they need to grow. And when those decisions backfire, explanations and justifications often come out in the form of selective reporting or statements from inside the team. It's a pattern repeated with multiple players and positions, showing that the Raiders staff is constantly trying to balance development, health, and competitiveness in a league where patience is rare and mistakes are magnified. In a team like the Raiders, which has been struggling to find consistency in recent seasons, these moments highlight the importance of alignment between the front office and coaching staff, as well as clear communication with fans and media. The roster construction itself has added to the complexity. Several players, from veterans on short-term deals to younger athletes brought in for specific roles, are being tested against the expectations of the coaching philosophy. Some players, like Jamal Adams, have voiced preferences about how they want to play, and those preferences don't always align with the scheme or philosophy imposed by the coaching staff. This tension isn't unique to the Raiders, but in combination with mismanaged trades and injury handling, it contributes to a perception that the team is not operating as a cohesive unit. For instance, players being asked to adapt to new positions or take on responsibilities outside their natural roles can be disruptive if not managed carefully. The Raiders' coaching approach, while experienced, has sometimes leaned toward rigidity, sticking with a preferred system even when player skill sets or conditions suggest alternatives. Fans see the results on the field, but the internal struggle to reconcile coaching philosophy, player capabilities, and long-term strategy is ongoing. Looking at the team's overall trajectory this season, there's a growing sense that the Raiders might be on the verge of a reset. Not a complete teardown, but a recalibration that could involve moving on from certain coaches while keeping successful executives in place. The priority is to maintain a long-term plan for building the roster while also ensuring that the team on the field has the best chance to compete now. Veterans with limited contract timelines and younger players who aren't fully ready may be reevaluated as the organization seeks a balance between competitiveness and planning for the future. Decisions will likely be made on a case-by-case basis, but the overarching goal is to ensure alignment across all areas: coaching, player development, and front office strategy, so that these kinds of conflicts are minimized moving forward. Finally, the challenges aren't just internal. The Raiders are preparing for a crucial game against a Browns team featuring quarterback Shedeur Sanders. Watching his previous performances, it's clear that Sanders has strengths and weaknesses that the Raiders can exploit, particularly his tendency to move backward in the pocket and struggle under pressure. While this provides an opportunity for the Raiders to capitalize, the team will still face a formidable defense that can turn small mistakes into game-changing plays. Preparing for Sanders and his tendencies adds another layer to the strategic complexity for the coaching staff, especially given the internal disagreements about player usage and development. For the Raiders to succeed in this matchup, execution on both sides of the ball will be critical, with little margin for error. The outcome of this game could also serve as a reflection of how well or poorly the organization is functioning as a unit, highlighting whether the internal challenges are affecting on-field performance or if the team can overcome them through focus and execution. As we continue to break down the state of the Raiders this season, it's impossible to ignore how personnel decisions and coaching philosophy are shaping the team's identity on the field. The tension between the coaching staff and the front office isn't just a minor issue. It impacts nearly every aspect of game preparation, player development, and overall performance. When key figures are not on the same page, the players are the ones who ultimately feel the effects. It's not always visible to fans, but every snap, every practice, and every matchup is influenced by the way decisions are being made at the top. The Jacoby Myers situation is a perfect illustration. While the front office saw the logical move in trading him for future draft capital, the coaching staff saw a veteran receiver who could make an immediate difference in games they desperately wanted to win. That divergence isn't unusual in the NFL, but the public visibility of these disagreements now shows just how strained the internal communication has become. Player health has continued to be a focal point of discussion. Brock Bowers' injury and the handling of his PCL tear demonstrated a lack of alignment between medical advice, coaching decisions, and the optics presented to fans. Pushing a player back onto the field before he was fully ready not only risked worsening his injury, but also placed him in a position where he could not perform to his potential. The messaging that came out afterwards suggested that Bowers himself was resistant to rest, but insiders understand that the decision was ultimately the coaching staff's responsibility. It highlights a recurring problem. When outcomes are poor, the narrative often shifts to protect staff reputations rather than fully reflecting the decision-making process. This approach can erode trust both internally and among the fan base, creating a perception that blame is being misplaced and that accountability is uneven. At the same time, rookie development continues to be an area of concern. Caleb Rogers, for instance, was initially slated to start at guard but was pulled due to practice struggles. This kind of inconsistency in player usage not only affects the growth of young talent, but also sends mixed signals about what the team values: winning in the short term versus cultivating future contributors. When looking at other players, the Raiders' approach to position assignments has raised questions. Jamal Adams' situation is telling. A player who has expressed preference to play safety is instead being deployed as a linebacker. While position adjustments are common in football, forcing players into roles that don't naturally fit can limit their impact and potentially affect morale. It also emphasizes the coaching staff's rigid approach, sticking to their vision even when it may not align with the roster's strengths. Pete Carroll's style has always been structured and consistent, but the current roster composition and the season's struggles have exposed cracks in that philosophy. Misalignments like this, combined with disagreement over trades and player usage, suggest that the Raiders may need to consider restructuring leadership roles or making significant changes after the season to ensure that everyone's objectives are aligned moving forward. The broader picture points to a possible organizational reset. This does not necessarily mean a complete overhaul of the roster, but it does indicate a likelihood that some coaches could be moved out to make way for fresh perspectives. Meanwhile, key executives like John Sbych, who have proven their acumen in roster building, may remain to maintain continuity and long-term planning. Such a split between front office and coaching staff could ultimately allow the Raiders to recalibrate while still retaining institutional knowledge and stability. It's a delicate balancing act, ensuring that the immediate team performance improves while not compromising the strategy designed to build sustained competitiveness over multiple seasons. Strategic patience will be critical, as will careful evaluation of both players and staff when making decisions about who stays and who moves on. Looking at the upcoming matchups, the Raiders are facing challenges that will test both preparation and execution. The Browns' quarterback, Shador Sanders, offers a unique test due to his tendency to retreat under pressure, which has been a consistent issue in his game so far. This presents the Raiders with an opportunity to capitalize on his weaknesses, but doing so requires flawless execution, particularly from the offensive line and defensive front. The team will need to balance aggression with discipline, exploiting any mistakes while minimizing their own. Every decision, from play calling to player assignments, will be scrutinized because even minor errors can be costly against a defense as strong as Cleveland's. The matchups against Sanders and the Browns' defensive unit are a microcosm of the larger challenges facing the Raiders: the need for alignment, preparation, and execution under pressure. Defensively, the Raiders are facing additional hurdles due to injuries and roster limitations. Certain positions, particularly on the offensive line, remain in flux, which places extra strain on game planning and in-game adjustments. Coaches must find ways to maximize the talent available while minimizing exposure to mismatches. The lack of depth at key positions complicates this, and any misstep can be magnified against an opponent capable of exploiting weaknesses quickly. This dynamic underscores the importance of cohesion, communication, and clear roles across the roster. Without these elements, even a talented team can struggle to compete effectively in the high-stakes environment of the NFL. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are swirling around Las Vegas as Chris Olave, the sensational wide receiver, reportedly lands in Raiders territory, and fans are already dreaming of the deep ball. Sources close to the organization hint that Olave could instantly become the team's go-to target when the game clock is bleeding down and desperation sets in. The excitement is palpable. There's a sense that the Raiders may have found the missing spark that turns nail-biting finishes into highlight reels. Insiders suggest that Olave's arrival brings more than just elite speed and precise route running. It injects a level of confidence into the quarterback's arm that hasn't been seen in Vegas for years. Imaginations run wild when picturing Olave streaking down the sideline, the defense scrambling, and a perfectly timed pass sailing into his hands just as the stadium erupts. Analysts are quietly speculating that he might redefine what it means to have a big-play receiver for this franchise. What's fueling the buzz even more is the timing. Sources hint that the Raiders' offensive schemes are quietly adjusting, potentially building plays around Olave's ability to stretch the field. Coaches are reportedly thrilled about the matchup nightmares he creates, and the locker room is said to be energized by the presence of a player whose reputation for clutch catches precedes him. Rumor has it that even veteran receivers are excited about learning from OLAVE, knowing that his presence could elevate everyone's game. Social media is already aflame with fan theories, highlight compilations, and speculation on how OLAVE will change the dynamics of the Raiders' passing attack. Everyone is imagining those moments when the game hangs in the balance. OLAVE lined up wide, defenders in disbelief, and a quarterback ready to throw deep. Whether or not he becomes the ultimate desperation play target, the mere suggestion of OLAVE joining Las Vegas has turned the rumor mill into a frenzy. One thing is certain. Wherever he goes, the spotlight follows, and the Raiders might just have a new secret weapon waiting to ignite unforgettable finishes. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.